all of the fishing apps read tides based on the moon phases, and since there are a lot of other things that can affect our tide levels, such as wind and storms out in the Gulf and stuff like that, your tide levels will not always be accurate when you're using a fishing app. So I'm going to show y'all a website that I've been using for quite a while, about a year I guess. It's been pretty dang accurate. It's called NOAA, N-O-A-A, Tides and Currents. There's always links below for things like this to help y'all out. I'm going to show y'all how to use the site, and then I'm going to show you where the difference is in tide level between NOAA and then the fishing apps. As a shallow water fisherman, the tide level is most important to me, so I can know if I can get into certain back lakes and stuff like that. So tidesandcurrents.noaa.gov, the link is down below. You'll click on your state, wherever it is that you fish at. For us, we fish in South Texas. And all of these red and yellow tide buoys are the ones that read tide levels. The other color buoys, they don't read everything that I need, and the only ones I use are the red and yellow. So you click on one of the buoys that is nearest to wherever you're going to fish at. So if I was going to fish Aransas Pass, I would click on this one right here. Up here under more data, you click on that, and then you select water levels. Be sure to change your time zone to LST, and then you can hit plot. LST is a time zone that they somehow just know your location, wherever you're at, and LST will automatically do your time zone. So if you look at the blue line versus the red line, it's not a huge difference, but it is a couple of inches difference. The red is preliminary. This is what the tide buoys actually read today, and what actually happened, compared to the blue is what all the fishing apps are reading. The blue line is just a prediction based on the moon phases, and while they are very accurate almost always when the tides are coming in and going out, they are not always accurate for the tide level. So today we had about a 2-inch difference, which is not huge, but there's been a lot of times I've been in a back lake getting stuck and wish I just had 1 more inch of water. And so you can look at these charts, and another cool thing about it is you can change the date over here. You can go back to a time that maybe you fished a certain back lake or a certain area where you felt like you had just enough water and you were able to really do some good sight casting on redfish, and you can go back and you can see what the tide levels did that day. Most of us take pictures, some of us make videos, and we can go back, on Facebook and see when we fished a certain area, by the pictures, and take that date, and you can enter it in down here, and then you can click on plot, and that'll show you the tides on that day. So we had a storm come through about August 21st. So I'm going to take the date to August the 20th, the day before, and then a few days after, I'm going to show you what that storm did to our tide levels. And the fishing apps were not reading what actually happened, but this app was. So whenever you go in the past, the red line is actually a green line now, which means it's been verified. And if you look right before the storm, the tides were just a little higher than predicted. And when that storm came through the Gulf, those tide levels got higher and higher and higher. They went all the way to 2.37 feet, and they were only predicting it to be 0.67. So that's one of those rare occasions when it was a huge difference, but all the other times it's usually just a couple inches. But the week after that storm, our tides stayed pretty high for a few days. So it was 1.86 compared to predicted 1.33, and they kind of stayed like that for the most part, for about a week. So now I'm going to show you the comparison between NOAA and Tides for Fishing, which is basically a fishing app website. We're going to use the NOAA's buoy. We're going to make sure and pick the same buoy for both apps. That way they're correct. We're gonna do, let's just do today, which is the 22nd. Put the 22nd on both. Hit plot. So this is what the tides did today. Pretty dang close to what actually happened. That red line is not much over. But, you know, 0.43 compared to what actually happened of 0.6 feet. That's a few inches of difference, 2 or 3 inches difference. So, and then we'll do, we'll check out tides for fishing. I already have it on the Nueces Bay tide buoy, and we'll go down to the tide levels. Here we go. If you scroll down to here, it does give you the exact numbers. So today is the 22nd. Our highest tide was 0.9. So we'll go back to NOAA. And NOAA was reading 1.1. So a couple inches of difference. It may not seem like a lot on today because it's really not a lot. But on a lot of other days, it can be sometimes 3 to 6 inches difference. And for the low, tides for fishing was reading 0.2. And the lowest was 0.56 on NOAA, on what actually happened. So that's a decent amount of difference when it comes to fishing real shallow like we do over here. So the other things to consider about tides, you know, they don't have that many tide buoys. Some of them are, you know, 10, 15 miles apart. If you got a good moving tide, they're moving about 3 miles an hour. So it can take, you know, 3 or 4 hours for that tide to catch up to the further buoy. The further you go into the back bays and stuff like that, the slower those tides go. They're not near as strong in the back bays as they are close to the inlets. So keep in mind things like that. So all we can do is pick the closest tide buoy and try to learn from that, you know, and just know that those tides aren't going to be coming in exactly the same time as they are at a tide buoy if you are several miles away. And like I said, these tide buoys are all over the place, you know, Louisiana, Florida. I mean, here's 22 tide buoys in Jacksonville. So hopefully some of these tips will help out. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching, and tight lines. That's what makes them so fun. Spook fish. It's a big one too. That boy is big.